Alan is one of our longer tenured employees at Public Works with almost 18 years of service. In that time, he has been involved in a variety of high-profile projects, including expansions at the EOP and the construction of the Nancy Brua Animal Control Center. His coworkers have nominated him for this award repeatedly, both for his technical knowledge and his willingness to help out whenever is asked. And again, Alan was from the engineering section. Our Supervisor of the Year, Mr. Greg Barrett. Greg is relatively new at Public Works, but certainly not at the city. Prior to coming to Public Works, he was a technician at the Parks Department, responsible for maintenance at the Cove, in addition to other duties. He developed a reputation for both technical competence and being a great guy, and Public Works jumped at the chance to hire him. He has made an immediate impact in the facilities section and has the respect of everyone who works for him. All right, and lastly, our overall Public Works Employee of the Year, Ms. Susan Quimby. Go ahead and read what I wrote about her exactly as I read it on the day of her award. Most city employees will never see Susan. She is someone who is known only to management and members of her section. Susan spends her days working with vulnerable members of our community. She operates one of our paratransit buses, which provides service to our disabled residents. Make no mistake about it, for the people she works with, Susan is a lifeline. Susan knows their names, and they certainly know hers. Without her, they wouldn't be able to get to doctor's appointments or shopping, meaning they would not be able to live independently. But although there is great joy in being able to help people, it is a difficult job too. From wrangling wheelchairs on a bus to working with people with severe disabilities, the job can be both physically and mentally taxing. In spite of the challenges, Susan consistently displays a great attitude, which has been noted by customers and management alike. Congratulations, Susan.
We'll next go to the city manager's report. Mr. Patuchik.
Thank you, Mayor Mueller, members of the council. Our next regularly scheduled work session is scheduled for Tuesday, July 23rd, 3 p.m., and that will be in the conference room. A few projects tonight. First, we have a call for artists out on the city's website to design a mural on the water tower located in the city's west end. And completed designs will be accepted at procurement, and the artist names will be read to the public at 12 p.m. on August 20th. The Joint Powers Authority Board for CCOM met this morning in Huachuca City, and I'm pleased to report that things are running much more smoothly there. We still have a shortage of staffing and are trying to address the recruitment issues and training issues as well. But for now, things seem to be running very well under the leadership of Commander Heiser and Commander Ferris from the Sheriff's Office. We'll be looking to probably start the process for hiring a new director for CCOM within the next month or two. The Schneider Electric project kickoff meeting started yesterday morning, and staff met with them to go over project timelines and the various aspects associated with the Schneider project. And of course, you'll be voting on the financing for that tonight. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you, Mayor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Patuchik. Any questions for Mr. Patuchik on his report? All right, thank you, Mr. Patuchik. Before we go on to the next item, I've got some requests from the public to address us. Some of them say they want to talk to on item number 2, but they say Meadows Ranch estate annexation, which is actually item number 4. So, is there anybody here that really wants to talk to us about item number 2, which is the approval of the approval of the meeting minutes for the 17th meeting minutes of the 27th June? I don't think so. So I think everybody wants to go to item 4, even though some of them have item 2 written on the call to the public. Yes, ma'am.
I just got home from a trip and read my mail and heard about the meeting 5 minutes ago, and I'd like to talk when I
Okay, if you want to address us either over there, there's a form, and you just give that to Maria at the clerk's desk, and when the item comes up, we'll call on you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Now we'll move to item number 2, Mrs. Calhoun.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the minutes of the regular city council meeting of June.
Moved and second. Any discussion on the minutes, items for correction? Yes, sir. I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll now go on to the first of a number of public hearing items. Property tax levy. Mr. Felix, will you please do the presentation?
Mayor, members of council, as under state law, the city is required to hold a on the property tax 2 weeks before the vote of the property tax. There is no formal action that you need to do. You just open up for comment, and anyone can comment on either the tax levy or any other item in the budget. Naturally, when you actually vote on the item in 2 weeks, they can also make comments at that time. Due to the slight increase in property tax valuation, we are changing the proposed property tax levy from the .1136 per hundred of AV that it has been for the last 5 years to .1124. If we were to keep the property tax levy, we'd have to go through all the truth and taxation steps of publications and certifications to get a whopping $3,890, and it is certainly not fiscally prudent to go through all of those jumps and pay all that money and take all that staff time to get that small amount. This way we avoid the truth in taxation. In layman's terms, that means for a house for $100,000, the city's property tax levy will go from $11.36 to $11.24 for the year. And you can take your savings and shop local. Be happy to any questions you may have.
Before I open it to the public, any questions for Mr. Felix?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have not received any requests to speak. Are there anybody that would like to speak to us on this item? Seeing none, I'll close this item to the public, and we'll move on to item number 4. Mr. Fisher.
Miss Wolf.
I'm sorry, excuse me. May I have a motion, please,
Yes.
Ms. Wolf?
Yes,
Sorry.
I would be more than happy to do
Thank
so.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm trying to move too fast, sorry.
I move that Resolution 2019-060, annexation of Golf Links Road properties be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Fisher, now may we have a staff report, please?
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council, staff, and members of public. Today we're here to talk about the Golf Links annexation and where we are in the process. To start, we're just to rehash sort of what we spoke before. This involves these 4 properties here that you see on the maps, items number 1, 2, 3, and 4. And as a recap, as required by state law, a blank petition was filed with Cochise County Recorder's Office on Monday, June 17th. And notice of the proposed annexation was sent to those possible vested interest in the properties, including the property owners, the utility companies, and the Cochise County offices. This public hearing is the first hearing regarding this annexation and will allow property owners a chance to make their opinions known to the council. At the end of this hearing, council will vote on whether to continue with the annexation or stop the process. If the council votes to continue with the process, an annexation petition will be mailed to the affected property owners on July 17th. The city then has a year to gather the signatures for the property owners at maximum. An annexation requires the consent of the owners of at least 1/2 the value of the real and personal property and more than 1/2 of the property owners in the territory in order for the annexation to proceed. And in terms of zoning would change, these large properties, 2, 3, and 4, would go from the current designation, which is R36 within the county, and would be designated as urban ranch. which is a designation that is largely meant to keep the characteristic of some of these larger properties that annex into the city, and they're allowed to keep things like livestock and other types of animals like horses. And then we also have this property over here, which is designated as SR12 in the county, and if annexed, it would be considered SFR 18. And as in terms of any development agreements or outstanding issues, there are none with these properties.
Do we have questions for Mr. Fisher? Yes, ma'am.
I just have one, and I know I asked this at the work session, but I just want to ask this one again. These are all properties that the owners are asking to be part of the annexation, correct?
That is correct. Initially, we received from properties 2 and 3 on the map, Ricky and Nicole Williams, along with Gilbert and Robert and Gill, they submitted a request to be annexed. And as part of our usual community-driven process in terms of annexation, we asked if any of their nearby adjacent neighbors, if they were interested. And we discovered that property 4 stated that they also had an interest in property number 1. And so we included those in the legal description for our annexation area.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? I know Matt wants to pipe in too.
Just
Mr.
real
McLaughlin?
quick, in response to your question at the work session on what the drop dead date is to save on taxes for the next billing cycle, it is August 1st. So we would have to receive the signatures. I believe we have 7 days after this meeting before we can start obtaining those signatures. So there's a potential for this item, if we have majority requirement, to bring this back to you at your next meeting. So those owners wishing to annex will receive tax savings with their next bill.
If we complete the process
We
by
complete-
1 August and have
That's
the
correct.
papers posted with the county.
That's right.
Okay,
It's feasible.
it's feasible, okay. Any other questions, discussion? Okay, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and open this up to the public. We have a number of people that would like to address us tonight. It's our custom when we open to the public that you have 5 minutes to address the council. There's a series of lights that'll go from green to yellow to red. When it hits red, I will ask you to complete your comments if you're not yet finished. And I'll just go in the order to which I've been given. And it looks like the first one up is Mr. William Hout.
Thank you.
If you come over to the microphone. No, sir, we broadcast this, so you need to be on the microphone so the people can record the meeting.
Am I on the microphone? Yes. All right, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mueller, and your various friends that support you here. I'm here to speak for this community. I will be brief. I say community because we are a community. We are more than just an enclave. And at this point, we are identified as an enclave, an island, which has been surrounded by district annexation of the properties in the area. These folks are very concerned, not the folks that we had here 5 minutes ago, but with the long-term impact of what's happening with respect to annexation in our area, in our enclave. And so I would like to speak to that, and the other individuals who will follow me here will speak to it as well. We're very concerned that you understand our sensitivities. We're very concerned that you ask questions. We're very concerned that you contact us, as you did not, since we are part of a long-term community in this city. We've been here a long time. I'm going to read a letter to you tonight from Corky Irun, who has also been a long-term member of this community, as were his parents. I'm sure you all know him. The Irun Community Center is just down the road here on Tacoma Street. All right? Corky and his wife have retired. They were very much a part of the business community in this town for a long time. They are now enjoying retirement. They are in Oregon, traveling. And he can't be here tonight, but he was kind enough to write me a letter, and I hope you'll give me time to read it all. And then perhaps there is additional time at the end of this meeting. There would be an opportunity to ask questions and receive commentary from all of your community here that I have on both my right and my left in front of me. Dear Bill, I enjoyed our phone conversation a couple of days ago, and I want to thank you for the update on the current efforts of the city to annex the Village Meadows Ranch Estate neighborhood community. Addendum, mine. As I expressed to you at this time, my wife Kitty and I are not interested in being annexed into the city. That is not to say that we would not be interested in the future, but not until the city gives us a full explanation on what they intend to do with the neighborhood, the community. There are many questions to be answered before we would consider annexation. Who would pay for El Camino Real being extended to the south, to name just one of our questions? It seems the city is trying to annex the neighborhood in much the same manner that they did in the early 1980s when city manager Mike Goyer was heading up the annexation effort. At that time, the city staff went to all of the residents on Camino Rancho and got the majority of them to sign the annexation petition. Only after that, and only needing a couple of more property owners to sign on, did they approach the residents of El Camino Real. Isn't that interesting? Only after my wife and I gathered a large group of our neighbors to meet at the SSVEC building to discuss the situation did the neighborhood realize what the city was trying to do. Several of the property owners on Camino Rancho withdrew their signatures from the petition, and the effort failed. Then city manager Mike Goyer asked to talk to my wife and I, and we agreed to meet with him. At his request, we met at our business before hours, and it very quickly became apparent the reason he wanted a one-on-one meeting with us, with no one else around, was that it put him in a position to deny anything we might say that we said to him. At that meeting, he told us that if we did not annex the city, it would annex around us, and that El Camino Real would be used by residents to the south, a dirt road that did go through the wash at that time, and that we would be begging to be annexed because we would be covered in dirt from all the traffic. He also pointed out that the neighborhood would have to form an improvement district for all the improvements, and that we would pay for it all. At that point, I reminded him that it was against state law for the city to annex property in such a manner as to create an enclave like the Fry Township. His answer was very plain and simple. He said, "So sue me." He knew very well that we had a young business trying to get started, and we did not have the means to take on the city in court. It is my understanding that there is some question. I see my red light is on, but I will finish this letter if I may.
Please finish.
Thank you, sir. It is my understanding that there is some question as to how the city is handling the annexation effort. On one hand, you are being told that they are only interested in the people who have contacted the city annexation. On the other hand, that some people have been contacted by the city to see if they are interested in being annexed. How is this really being done? At this point, I can only offer some unsolicited advice. Before anyone signs anything, find out what the city intends to do after annexation. What do they plan on doing with El Camino Real? And who is going to pay for it? And for many years we've been hearing the city will never put El Camino Real through to Avenida Cochise. Is that a fact? And after getting all of the facts and all of the answers, get it in writing, capitalized. My parents, Oscar and Lupe Irun, were great supporters of the city, as my wife and I have always been. That being said, I sincerely hope the city is not just trying to correct the fact that state law was violated by creating the Village Meadows Ranch Estates enclave. I hope that they will be straightforward with their intentions and truthful with all their efforts. I might say I hope so as well. My friend, it is up to you and the good people of the neighborhood to make sure that we are not misled or taken advantage of. Thanks again, Corky and Kitty Irun.
I have a couple of comments, just to make
Very
some
good, Mr. Mayor. I
make some
would be
corrections
most pleased to hear your
for
comments.
what you just read there. First of all, at my urging about 10 years ago to try to resolve some of the issues you brought out about people not knowing what's going on, what the procedures are,
Good.
we actually established an annexation policy. And one of the things that annexation policy says is if people come to us and say, we want to annex, then we will go out and talk to the adjacent neighbors to see if they want to annex.
Yes, that
and
was
that,
it.
in fact, has been stated in previous presentations.
This evening.
In this
evening, yes.
Well, in the council chambers prior to this evening. So that, in fact, has happened. And some people have said no. Some people have said hell no. And based on the history, because we've gone through this before, at least once while I've been on the council, we understand the concerns about who pays for the roads, whether we put sidewalks in, whether we put lighting in, whether we extend the road through to Avenida Cochise, which, quite frankly, it's not my intention to ever promote. And those kind of things have been discussed in the past. And if you would look at the written guidance that the staff has, that has been approved by City Council in that SOP, you'll see that. So there's either some misinformation, or maybe we haven't been very forthcoming in making sure that everybody understands what the policies and procedures really are in the community. So I apologize for that.
I believe that this group of people that is here this evening is well apprised of what you have just said. I would add that with respect to the El Camino Real question and its extension to Avenida Cochise, we did have a bike path initiated on the street some time ago. It comes into the new community of Oak.
It's right in my neighborhood where I live now.
It comes across the southern edge of a property that is in the.
And that was done in conjunction with the county.
And then goes directly north to the main street, Fry Boulevard. So we have had 5 or 6 break-ins since this path, this bike path, has been initiated. And it's simple. We've been discovered.
Yeah,
It wasn't a known entity previously. And
Well,
so-
I would tell you in my neighborhood, which is the new neighborhood you mentioned, there's also been break-ins because they've been discovered. So, I
But
mean,
you understand- you understand that
unfortunate. It's unfortunate,
Yeah.
but that's an issue. I understand.
All right. And we've loved living there. I've been there 21 years, and many of these people here have been longer. And we heard the other evening from Danny, can't remember her last name, Culver, Danny Culver, whose family lived in 1974 when there was an annexation of El Camino Rancho, and there was great distress at that time. And there was a discussion then of Camino Rancho being extended all the way to what was then grassland is now not any longer. And so there are issues here that need to be explored, need to be discussed, need to be understood, and everyone listened to, not put aside. Thank you for your time.
Well, let me ask if there's anybody else from the council that has questions for you. Okay. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming tonight. George, it looks like Clarence, Clark. I can't read my hand. Yeah, it does say Clark. My goodness. Sorry.
I do print rather
weird.
I should tell you, first of all, I have hearing only on the left side. So if some of you need to stop me and ask a question, please do so. Only you can yell out, "Hey, George," and I'll stop. Very quickly, good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, council members. Appreciate you letting us talk. I live in the village of Midges Ranch Estates on Camino Rancho. That puts me in this small enclave that we've been talking about. It is one of the city of Sierra Vista's stated goals to obviously take over these enclaves, and I do understand that from their point of view. This is a worthwhile pursuit for the city for several reasons. It is not one that the Village of Meadows at Ranch Estates goes along with. More than a majority of the property owners in this subdivision continue to be opposed to annexation in general in this area. And this started as far back as some of our residents tell us since 1974. We've made very clear over the year, many different annexation tries have made, and they've not gone forward. Our community still says we really don't want to have it to happen. Even newcomers to our subdivision have stated they specifically purchased their properties because said properties were not in the city. Every time the city one of these piecemeal but legal annexation attempts, it just reinforces some of us, our desire not to be part of the city. And that can be gone into by other people that speak. This particular petition for annexation before you shows a willingness of the city to cherry pick and select annexation without going to the subdivision as a whole. And Mr. Mayor, you talked a little bit about that as far as your new rules, that when somebody in the subdivision comes to you, you are almost obligated to go forward with it and to address some of the people next door. We would like more than that, obviously, which I'll go into in a little bit. The people have asked for this petition to have every right to want and seek annexation, but the city has tried this type of divide and conquer routine in the past. That's our side of it, not yours, and I do understand that. Even though those have been voted for annexation were so put off by this tactic in the previous tries, there were a lot of people that wanted, not a lot, there were some people that wanted annexation, but when they sit out the city dividing us up and not talking to everybody, that made them try to put it off, and we did. I firmly believe that the individual property owners have every right to pursue what they would consider to be in their own best interest. But having said that, there's also the right of everyone collectively in a subdivision to expect and want to maintain that which we have liked the idea of being out of the city, but, that they have been invested in. Those of us in the subdivision here are here because we like the idea of being out of the city, but in the local area. It was a financial and a semi-rural lifestyle choice we all made at the time of purchase, and we see no reason to change that. As to this annexation petition, how it was handled, I will go into a little bit of that now, and I only know this as a second, third-person approach. 2 county citizens approached the city to ask if they could be in the city and what would be the procedure to do if they did. The city responded with, yes, it can be annexed, but apparently said that it was not financial feasible unless several properties came with them. This sounds reasonable unless you know of the city doing just that, to include one property only in an annexation, and I think the last one I know about was at the southeast end of El Camino Rancho. Camino Rancho, I should say. Next in the county properties, next came, after this interest was shown, the city using the terminology of vested interest on the east side of Golf Links Road and 2 properties contiguous with the first requesters were sent a letter offering annexation. Not everybody on that end of the street got this. Not everybody in the county got that. The rest of us in the subdivision did not get it at all. And next, a city representative made a presentation at the individual's home to each of these property owners as to the benefits of annexation. That I understand. But this was done whether they had said they were interested or not, and some said they were not. There was the impression from some of these property owners, and this is secondhand, that this was a very high pressure sales pitch to get them to agree to this entity of annexation. As for the vested interest, the property owners in the Village Meadows Ranch Estates have made it very clear to the city in the past that we all collectively have a vested interest in any annexation attempts in our subdivision in whole or in part. The most egregious action that, to me personally, may have been, and I say may have been, an attempt made to get the favorable responders to sign some form of intent of annexation, and then to imply that this signing constituted, I should say, a legal binding commitment to not back out of this territory to be annexed. If true, that is totally against all annexation procedures as spelled out in the guide for annexation of cities and towns, of which all cities follow in Arizona. As you know, no signing of this can take place for a 30-day period, is complete, and the call to order or call to the public has taken place. Again, if this happened, this was clearly a violation of the annexation procedures that you talked about and whatever, and I see the red. So I have a conclusion I'd like to give you, and then I'll give it to you. In conclusion, it appears that some of us of the city may not be following their guidelines as to the annexation procedures. It's using the government pressure to try and influence the outcome that from people that were talked to under this process. What we'd like to see at this point is that the city council and the mayor go back over to the city and make sure that everybody understands what the procedure should be and that we are doing it as it ought to be done. And that's the end of mine. If you have any questions.
Well, I want to thank you for your comments. I will tell you that I will go back with the community development department personally and review some of the comments you've made. I've been following this very clearly, and perception on the part of an individual may be different than what actually happened, and I will do my best to figure out exactly what went on. I don't see our community development department as a high pressure sales organization, and that's not what they should be anyway. I think we can probably agree on that.
Yes, sir.
But again, I can't account for someone else's perception.
I understand that.
Any other comments or questions?
I have nothing.
Okay, thank you, sir. We
Thank you
appreciate
again for your
appreciate your time. Annie Ballinger is next.
I'm going to speak on a little bit more personal note. I'm Ann Ballinger. Actually, I'm married to George Clark. Our neighborhood is very diverse, though very cohesive. We have residents that are still working, others retired, educators, builders, business people, military, medical professionals, all at various levels. Some married, some widowed, some divorced, some single, and we look after each other. We all made very considered decisions when we purchased our properties. We are not only financially invested, but emotionally invested. We enjoy a rural lifestyle convenient to the city. We enjoy the wildlife, even deer that come occasionally to our properties. We accept the risk of mild damage to our properties. We do not want any roads put through, street lights, sidewalks, or other changes or improvements to our neighborhood and our lifestyle. Most of us are very private, sometimes bordering on hermitoid, and we prefer it that way. That is not to say we don't look after each other in a myriad of ways. Most know that help is a phone call away. And actually, when the Gills moved in and their dog got out, we searched for Sedona for a long time. That may not be in anybody's recollection, but we look out for each other very carefully. We may not know each other's last names, but we are very aware of what goes in our community. We've lived on Camino Rancho since 1992, and actually we are relative newcomers. On a personal note, I'm a retired physician. When we moved here and wanted a quiet rural lifestyle, but telemedicine was not available at that time, I had to ethically be immediately available for patient care. Nights, weekends, any emergency, time was crucial. Our property being available, the property we own now, being available for sale at that time was a small miracle. We actually don't care for the house that much, but the site is fabulous. One of my old high school buddies has actually referred to it as a piece of paradise. When I had to leave the area for a period of time because of the failing health of my parents, one thing that kept me going despite a brutal schedule, including my full-time work schedule, was the knowledge of our place to come home to. That would eventually happen. My husband stayed here. I'm saddened by the tactics employed by the city to annex our subdivision. I fully realize it is well within the rights of any property owner in the subdivision to join the city. But I take issue with the fact that we were not all notified or surveyed, as during a prior failed attempt at annexation, the city agreed at that time, and it's not just my memory, we had a neighborhood meeting 2 days ago, and many people at that meeting remembered exactly the same thing, that the city agreed at that time that we all had a, quote, possible vested interest in any change to our neighborhood, our subdivision. Many people are on vacation now. I have received many phone calls, and I speak for the majority of people in our subdivision that may not be here tonight. Institutional knowledge, unfortunately, of this agreement with the city has failed, and we did not get it in writing. It was agreed that every single person in our subdivision would be notified of any change to, potential change to our subdivision and our county enclave. I deplore what I call the rat bites that the city is taking out of our neighborhood, and the fact that the number of those surveyed are so limited. In our neighborhood meeting, as I spoke about, some complained, and this was very real, and you may be right, Mr. Mayor, that it may be perception of undue pressure they felt was applied to join the annexation. That high-pressure tactic is absolutely unacceptable. They felt the city would not take no for an answer, and continued to try to persuade them otherwise. One person in particular was pretty outraged. In any case, I feel that the behavior is inappropriate and certainly not harmonious a word referred to in the League of Arizona Cities and Towns Guide for Annexation, nor does it engender trust in the city public. Not everyone is equipped to resist such tactics, should they wish to. Perhaps others will speak to this issue as well. We know that we are probably a technically illegal enclave, but that is not of our making, nor is it our problem. We wish to remain so. Most of us just want to be left alone to live our lives in the manner we've chosen. Annexation is not the choice for the vast majority of us, and we are distressed by the fragmentation of our neighborhood, our area. To my neighbors requesting annexation, I implore you to reconsider your current decision. It is our understanding from the guide that it is not too late for withdrawal, should you wish to. And quick question to you guys. Hypothetically, if someone is in the city and wants to be in the county, what would you recommend they do?
Well, quite frankly, I don't know. I'm not sure there's a de-annexation procedure. I'd have to do some
That's-
research.
And so if somebody really, really was, for whatever reasons, for whatever they might be, fed up with the city and wanted to be in the county, what would you advise them to do?
I think to ponder, that's something we would have to take up with the legislature, obviously, if
Well,
because we follow.
a simple answer might be, if you do not no longer wish to deal with the city, move to the county. And I think some of you may have actually personally been involved in such things. Some people want to vote in the city, some people want to run for office. But then move to the city, please. But in any case, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Are there any questions before she goes from the council? Comments? Thank you very much. We now move to Douglas Bobke. Bobke, or excuse me, Benke. Sorry. The E looks like an O. Sorry.
My handwriting doesn't get
I got
better
the same
with
problem.
age. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the city has solicited petitions of annexation from 4 of our residences within Village Meadows Ranch Estates. I know there were more residents solicited, but you don't make mention of how many more. I know there was at least one because I was one of them. I do not want to live within the city limits. I feel there are undesirable consequences of living under the city jurisdiction. There are some 40-plus residents within Village Meadows Ranch Estates, mostly dispersed along 2 main streets, Camino Rancho and Camino Real. Both streets are dead-end, but I just learned that one of them may not be dead-end now. Having the 2 streets dead ends makes this an ideal subdivision for family activities like dog walking, running, bike riding, even horse riding. All of the lots are coded as rural, suited for horses. It is most desirous that we keep this coding and the dead-end streets because that is the attraction and the character of Village Meadows Ranch Estates. It is alarming that the city covets these estates. By the way, that's against the 10th commandment. Most of us want Village Meadows Ranch Estates to run intact as our subdivision exists today. Why should the city be allowed to cherry-pick residences and not survey the whole subdivision? Your provisions, do they advise the county that you are doing this in our area? I would prefer that the Village Meadows Ranch estates were kept in total as is within the county. Any questions?
Any questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
I fail to understand can you hear me okay? I fail to understand the choice of cherry picking. I don't think we would have approached the estates, and I understand all the details that you were mentioning, and we'll certainly address all of those, but I don't think we would have approached your community if someone hadn't approached us first. So I just kind of don't understand the choice of that we're cherry picking homes.
When I was interviewed, I was told that it was only the houses that were along, what's in it?
Adjacent to the,
Golf links?
yeah.
Or the golf links?
Along the one road, and that excludes the rest of the community.
Well,
That would be my
choice of words for that.
choice of words
Sure.
as cherry picking.
And I think the reason, and someone will correct me if I'm wrong, there's a part of the law about, or the policy around what we do when when someone requests to be annexed, is there's certain places that we do have to approach. Now, that's to the exclusion of us knowing about an agreement that was made in the past about everybody being notified. But within the policy, if I'm correct, there's only certain amount of homes that you do approach when someone has requested to be annexed. So we'll sort all of that out when someone else speaks to address these issues. Okay. But that's what I was just taking exception that we didn't just pick and choose who we asked.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Next up is Frank Scruggs.
Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, Frank Scruggs, 1709 Camino Rancho since 1983. Mr. Mayor, I would have to disagree with your statement about high pressure. I would call it something else. I can attest to Corky's statement where Mike Goyer, the prior city manager.
I was specifically addressing this incident, not the past, because I know there were some things went on in the past. That's why I initiated a policy to try to correct some of that crap.
I understand it's still going on. I cannot attest to it. Just hearsay. I was told it is still going on. It is or isn't, I don't know. But as I said, I can attest to Corky's statement concerning Mike Goyer. My main concern is I've been down this road before, and property of mine was annexed, and they said I would save money by the annexation. Well, I don't know what you think, but any amount of money going out of my pocket, I don't care whether you call it a tax, a fee, a permit fee, it's still money out of my pocket. And the property that was annexed, it seemed like the day after it was annexed, I got a bill for this. I had to get a permit for that. I got a bill for everything under the sun. Also, on residential properties, you have to have a permit, it seems like, for everything, to replace your hot water heater, your furnace, your cooler, put a fence in, just on and on and on. And that's one of the reasons why the property cost me more money out of pocket than when I was in the county. And I understand your guys' reasoning for wanting to do it, but I would prefer to stay in the county. And thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We next have Elizabeth Richter.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Richter, 1833 Camino Rancho. I'm going to mention one thing. I've been on vacation since last until last night. One of my neighbors sent me a picture of the sign that went up, and the picture was sent to my text on the 1st of July. That was 11 days ago. I just went through my mail today. I was exhausted. I was up in Phoenix for 2 days after I got home from the East Coast, which I also love too. And I was going to dinner with friends, who was one of them who was on the planning and zoning. And I said, oh my God, today's not the 10th, it's the 11th. So I am here. I turned around from going to dinner, came here. Okay, I have a home in Sierra Vista that I rent. I want you all to know, Gwen knows, Brian knows that I love Sierra Vista. My kids all graduated. They're friends of Gwen's children. Brian Jones is a dear friend of my family's, my son, my daughter. Anyway, I love Sierra Vista, but this former New Yorker loves the wild 5 acres. Before I left on my trip, a 6-inch lizard got in my house, caused me to be an hour and a half late to leave. I love it. You know, my friends came to water plants, and there was a family of javelinas walking across the yard, and little quail, and they were thrilled with this. I love it. I don't want anything to change. What upset me is that I'm riding on a bus from Binghamton to New York City. My friend Grace Dennis shows me the picture of the annexation. My heart almost stopped. I have asthma. When I'm rushing over here, I almost didn't. It's a good thing you have an elevator. Anyway, I saw that, but that's the first. Today's the 11th. If I hadn't gotten home till tomorrow, I wouldn't have known about it officially. Another neighbor called and let me know about this. I spoke with them. So I think the process is a little bit fast to go from the 1st of July to having a meeting today. That's not much time for anybody who's away or for anyone to know what's going on, because I had no knowledge of any annexation of anything before the 1st of July. And that was because someone took a picture of the sign. And I did call from the bus. I called Blake at City Zoning and Planning, and I said, I saw the sign, I do not want to be annexed. And I did say not no, but hell no, I just don't want to be annexed. And he said it's only 4 properties. But then as I read letters, I worry that it's going to spread. And one of the things that Frank mentioned is exactly what my husband Tom, my late husband Tom, excuse me, it was all the little fees for the hot water heaters and for this and for that. And he said, I just love the freedom of my place to have the land the way we like it. It's not that we don't love Sierra Vista, but I just love the freedom of living in the country. And everyone, Tom was handy, he did everything. He put in the water heaters, he didn't need to get a permit. And that's, I think, what we like. So the city needs to take into consideration how we all really are a big family, diverse. As Ann said, we don't see each other all the time, but it's a wonderful community. And I've raised 4 great kids there. There were some parties I didn't know about that occurred on the street many years ago that some people here may have gone to. I don't know. Anyway, but it was a great street. Yeah, I guess they did. Yeah, yeah. And we found out later, but anyway, the kids were in trouble. Tom told them they always had to pay the piper if we ever found it. But anyway, it's a wonderful neighborhood. People are comfortable there. Sometimes my kids say, oh, Mom, you need to get an alarm. And I don't really want that. I just want it to be country. And I grew up on the 13th floor of an apartment building overlooking the Hudson River. And I'm happy wherever I'm planted. And right now, I don't want where I'm planted now for as much time as I have left. I love where I live. Everybody says, oh, it's too big, you got to move. And I said, there's just a piece about my coming home to this quiet place there were 3 bunnies playing there. There were coyotes walking through the yard today. I love it. So please do not do anything to change this beautiful community. And make sure that things are now written in writing so that neighbors do know what you plan to do and what you don't. And someone wanted me to ask, you are not planning to have Camino Rancho go through anywhere, I hope, or Camino Real, I hope. And then I don't know where I saw something of a strange-looking golf links going through. Is there a plan for that? I don't know what I was reading, maybe in my panic looking at a letter. It was a redistrict, and I'm thinking, just don't let anything happen to our neighborhood. And make sure that people who do want to come in know about all the fees for all the permits you have to have and all of that. So thank you for listening to me. I'm not well prepared because I turned my car from going to La Casita with friends to here. So didn't have time to write a speech, but thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for being here, and we hope you enjoy your dinner when you get to La Casita.
I'm not
it's always,
going.
It's always a good place.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before I turn it to council for discussion, I'll close the meeting to the public. And just for disclosure purposes, my acre plus property, the western part borders the area that you guys are talking about. So I'm fully aware of the country nature and the tranquility and the wildlife and the things enjoy it, because on my acre plus property, I really enjoy that too. And I'm not in the Oakmont subdivision, but I'm just the one across the street on the north side. So believe me, I appreciate what you're doing. I am not aware at this time of any streets, any desire to move either one of those streets south. And the problem is because right now with the way the way Avenue Nina Cochise is, it would be very difficult to have a safe intersection with what's already developed there. So that's probably, my guess is it's probably never going to happen, but I can't guarantee that. The other thing with golf links, and I used to live on golf links up toward the hill. As you come down to the bottom of the road there, as you guys know, there's water and issues with rain and drainage and et cetera. And there's really no good way to connect that up with anything further to the east. There's no real property that would be able to build and maintain a road without extensive expenses. And that's probably what prevents that going further to the east. So, and that, again, that's just my opinion. But again, I'm only the mayor for another 3.5 years. Okay?
But that's kind of what we're concerned about.
Well, believe me, I understand this. I was well aware. The last time we looked at you guys, and the issues haven't changed as far as I'm concerned, and that's what I'm hearing tonight. Okay. I've already closed it to the public, sir. I'm sorry. Any other comments or discussion from council?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Matt, it sounds like from the comments that people have this idea that we're going to come in and forcibly take property. So could you please explain the 51% rule for real and personal property and the number and the value?
Sure. Well, Mayor Mueller, Mayor Pro Tem Gray, on an area-wide referendum basis, in order for an annexation petition to pass, 51% or more of the property owners need to agree or sign the petition, and more than 50% of the assessed value needs to be included. So it's a two-pronged test. In this case, it's our understanding that 100% of the property owners within the proposed annexation area are desirous of being annexed to the city. Can I address the point on the concern about the roadway extension? It was only 2 weeks ago that you all reviewed the traffic circulation plan adopted in Vista 2030, the general plan, which shows existing and future street extensions. And that is the legislative guidance you provide staff on pursuing capital improvement projects. And those extensions are not shown on that map.
Yeah.
It would take an amendment by this council through a public hearing process to show those proposed extensions. And politically, it sounds like you're pretty unified that there's no interest at this time or to pursue that. So I hope that allays that concern.
Okay. So thanks, Matt. We appreciate that. The other thing I'm going to say is the point in the process where we are is if this passes, we will then issue the petitions for signature. So we're very early in the process, and that's why I think it's important for you guys to have been here tonight, because most of the times folks will show up at the last meeting, which is almost too late. So this item will start the signature process for the 4 properties only.
That is correct.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can I comment on this?
Well, we're closed, sir. We're closed to the public. If I allow you to speak, I'm going to have to allow everybody else to speak. You had your opportunity, and we appreciate you being here and sharing that with us. If you want to beat me up afterwards, you're more than happy to come do that.
So next time, would you just tell us if there are no questions, then we will close, rather than we will close and everybody's like, what?
quickly.
And nobody had a chance to ask any questions, I think.
Well, if this is a public hearing where the public comes up and speaks to us, we address their issues. It is not an open forum, and what you're asking for is an open forum.
Thank you for letting us know that.
Okay.
then.
Okay, Matt.
One more thing that was raised, we did not ask any property owner to sign any document ahead of this evening.
Okay, thank you.
So that was secondhand information. I can go on the record and say that was not done.
Okay. Any other discussion, questions from council? Anybody? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We now move on to item number 5. And I believe it's Ms. Gray.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Resolution 2019-061, adoption of the final budget for fiscal year 2019-2020, be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mrs. Yarborough, may we have the staff report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So this item adopts your final budget for fiscal year 1920 in the amount of $90,368,774. And that amount is unchanged from the tentative budget that you approved on June 13th. So this is the second to last step in your budget process this year. The final step will happen in 2 weeks with your property tax levy vote, which you heard about from Mr. Felix just a little while previously. So then if you pass this resolution, the final budget book will be developed and made available online by early October, as well as at the library and the front desk of City Hall for the public to review. And then an overview of the final budget will be posted on the city's website following its passage if you do that tonight. There were no comments received from the public about the budget, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mrs. Yarborough. Questions or comments from council? It's going to be easier than I thought.
No. We've talked about it a lot.
Yeah, well, I know we did talk about it a lot over the last several months. Okay. So if there's no other comments or questions, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. We next move on to item 6.
It's me.
Ms. Humphrey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Resolution 2019-062, approving the issuance of bonds and delegating authority to the city manager and chief financial officer to execute matters related to the issuance and declaring an emergency, be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Felix, may we have the staff report, please?
Yes, Mayor, members of council, as part of this year's budget, we do have the big major energy project being done by Schneider Electric, which was included in the city manager's report. Part of that project, we are financing it through revenue bonds. These are done by sales tax pledge, excise tax pledge, where we've pledged sales taxes, state shared revenues. This is not a property tax levy, so therefore no vote is needed by the public. The only time you need a vote by the public on a bond issuance is if you are holding them liable through their property taxes. This sets parameters for the bonds that will be issued based off the recommendations by the financial advisor and the bond attorney. We've rounded the maximum allowable limit from the $13.8 million that's in the budget to $14 million. Current interest rates by the placement agency that we're looking at hiring are around, he wants to say 2.75% to be nice and conservative, like most financial people like to be, although technically they did, based off the recommendation, put 4% in the note. We are going 15 years as the maximum term. The most recent placement done a few months ago by another agency was 2.41%. What this resolution does is gives us authorization to execute the bonds at the best time. The emergency clause is there, so you do not need to wait 30 days to try and take advantage of the current interest rates. The placement agent does have a list of 64 banks they're going to send a proposal out to for placement of these bonds, and then we'll get the lowest bid in for doing this We're looking at a private placement, so these bonds would not be available to the public. The advantage of the private placement is there's tens of thousands of dollars of savings on required issuance costs if these bonds are available to the public. Based off they call it the knowledgeable investor rule. We can save money on insurance, bond insurance, and other things. So it's the best way to do it, and this way we're looking at getting the lowest possible rate. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Mr. Felix? Yes, ma'am.
Would you go over again? I think I understood you mentioned 7%, and then you mentioned the 2.41% and a 4%. And I'm wondering if I know you're going to go for the lowest.
Yeah.
But do we need to say anything about that?
Well, the way the proposal is currently written is not to exceed 4%.
Okay, that was the 4. What was that 7% you mentioned? Why did that come up?
I don't
Didn't hear that.
2.75%.
Okay, the 2.7. So, okay, and it said not more than 4.
Yeah.
But you're really looking at a 2 point.
2.75 is what they're comfortable in saying the market is at right now. The market does change daily.
Yeah.
Even during the day. So obviously they, for liability reasons, do not want to give too low of a rate because they would kind of be an issue, could be an issue for them.
Okay, and say a little bit more, just from my understanding, about private placement rather than public.
Private placement means and usually it's a trust or somebody like that will come in and buy all the bonds. And they will keep them there and we'll just pay it over time. They do this for tax purposes. There's certain tax benefits for doing it. A publicly placed bond falls under all the Security and Exchange Commission rules. They must be registered. They must go through certain processes, which can add $50,000 to $100,000 to a bond issue. And that's why the private placement in this situation on these bonds looks to be good. When we refinanced the outstanding MPC bonds, that was also a private placement because an entity approached our financial advisor expressing interest in refinancing these and taking them private. So that the last issue we did was also a private placement.
And one final thing, what would cause us for our collateral to have to go into effect?
For the collateral to go into effect, if you did not appropriate funds.
If a council didn't appropriate
If
the funds?
a council does not appropriate funds, then that is what you're putting up as a collateral.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what declaring an emergency would be if we didn't?
No,
What
the-
part is that about?
The declaring the emergency, normal resolutions take 30 days to go into effect. So this way we can go in and work on the market right now, and we don't have to wait 30 days to be able to have the authority to go and execute the bond sale.
It gives us more flexibility in acquiring a lower rate. If it goes into effect immediately, they can start working on it. When they get the lowest rate, they can action it.
Thank you, okay.
Okay, rather than waiting for 30 days when who knows what the market will be in 30 days. Yes, ma'am.
David, do you, so let's say in the morning, you see that it's gone down back to 2.41. Does that get locked in while we do all the documents and things? Well, why you? I don't actually do any of the documents.
It's actually how it works is very similar to our annual lease purchase financing. They will send a proposal out, given terms and conditions with the structure we want the bonds to have. We do want lower principal payments for the first 2 years until we pay off the outstanding refinance bonds. And banks will then bid to say, we will buy that at this rate, and with these various fees and other things. Then we look at the total cost, and the award will go to the lowest bidder. And that's, just like ours, that's how it's done. And then that will establish the rate. On that day, at that time, that's the rate that we will have,
And it
which is
won't
why they will
change
want, it will not change.
Finalize.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That's the rate that they bid, and they've got a certain window to close everything on.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Ladies? Yes, ma'am.
Just real quick, and this I 100% know you have gone over this about 100 million times, and I so apologize for that, but I'm having like a brain misfire right now. The outstanding bonds that we have right now expire in 2020 and 2022.
The bonds that we refinanced, there's two pieces to them. There's the pieces that were the Series 2008 and Series 2010 that are paid for from your current half-cent capital improvements, the half-cent transaction privilege tax that goes to capital improvements. So those portions of the bonds are structured to pay off in 2021, January.
Completely wrong.
Yeah. The other piece of the bonds was from the sewer plant that we did we did all the rework on. That was $9 million a few years ago. That was incorporated as well because we did have savings with that. That piece of the bond is paid for from the sewer fund only, and that pays off 6 months before it did before in 2027.
Any other questions, discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. And David, thank you for all the hard work. I know this is not something that's very easy to explain or get through the system, so we appreciate you in the finance section for doing that. Item number 7, Mrs. Calhoun.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Resolution 2019-063, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Arizona Department of Transportation for Phase 1 of the North Garden-Fry Boulevard improvements be approved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Mrs. Flassard, may we have the staff report, please?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, this agenda item will provide an update to an existing intergovernmental agreement with the Arizona Department of Transportation for the Fry North Garden project. From $264,000 to $368,000, and moves construction from fiscal year 20 into fiscal year 21. Those are federal fiscal years. And the reason that date moved by a year is because we've had some delays in getting a design consultant on board. It was going to be best to move the construction to a future year so that we would be sure we could spend all the money in time. The Sierra Vista Metropolitan Planning Organization unobligated funds it could apply to this project, and both the SVMPO board and ADOT concurred with the change. Other aspects of the agreement remain the same. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Sharon before I ask her a couple? Did you have something?
No, I'm handing you that. Someone wants to speak.
Yeah, well, okay. All right, when we go to your amendment number 1 on the chart in the very first paragraph, and we didn't see this at the work session, so I want to make sure I understand what's going on. Design, it says fiscal year program was 2019. I think we're done with 2019, aren't we?
That is the date that we have to submit the authorization to ADOT, which has been done.
Okay, so we have submitted it, so we've met that date. My concern was how long we have to really spend the money, because obviously we're not in that same fiscal year. So do we have a year? Do we have 2 years?
Mr. Mayor, my understanding is we have a year to spend that money yet, and we are anticipating the design wrapping up within a year.
Okay, and that's the next question is, I know we went out early, we went out already for consultants and we didn't get the appropriate bids, and we went out again for consultants. What is the status of that process?
We are, Mr. Mayor, we're in the final stages of the selection process right now.
So it looks like we will be awarding a contract to
Somebody.
somebody
That is correct.
Within the next month or two.
That is correct.
Okay. So I just want to make sure when we do get federal or state or other funds, we need to make sure we get them spent expeditiously, because there is a habit of pulling them back when they aren't spent for the intended purposes. And I don't want that, obviously don't want that to happen on any of our projects.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? I didn't see you guys. It was yes?
Oh, I
Okay.
raised my hand like he knows now.
Yeah, you guys are too quick for me. I'm getting to be an old man, so you got to keep them up there. So item's unanimous. Thank you very much. We now move to call the public. And we have Belinda Schaff wants to come talk to us, and she's gonna short circuit my comments about congratulating the ladies team for representing not only Sierra Vista well, but also having the opportunity to represent the state of Arizona up in Montana coming up. Yes, ma'am.
That is correct. Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak really quickly. I just wanted to get some information out there that our baseball 12U division, they won district, and they'll be traveling to Cayman for state. They start their tournament on Monday. Our baseball 50-70 intermediate team will be traveling, they also won state, and they'll be traveling to Western Region, which is being held in Nogales. I'm hoping to win that division tournament one day and be able to host it here in Sierra Vista. That's my goal and my mission. And right now, my girls, they won last night on a doubleheader, 12-9 against Superior, beating them. So they'll be traveling to Montana on, it looks like the schedule just came out, July 19th. We'll be playing against Hawaii. And the other states I'll be traveling there is also Montana, Southern California, Washington, and Nevada are all playing. But here in Sierra Vista, starting Saturday, we are hosting the boys' senior baseball games, which will be held on our Benson Cole Field. And we are hosting in total, 11 teams will be traveling here. And for the girls' 9, 10, and 11 softball team, we'll be hosting on the Domingo Paez 1 and 2 field. And there'll be 9 teams traveling, and one of them will be the Sierra Vista Little League girls. So we invite you guys out to come out to watch the games. Anyone in the public also, please pass the word. I have just forwarded the schedule on to Laura to post onto the city website so that we can pass it out to everybody. It's a fun, free family event. And Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the first time in 18 years Sierra Vista has made it to state? Yes. So, yes.
Well, I just want to say we're very proud of our young ladies.
Yes.
And it looks like the guys are catching up, so that's good.
Correct, yes.
And we all look forward. It should be a great time. If you've ever been to a Little League game or a Ponytail game, it's always a lot of family fun and enjoyment out there. So please come out and support our youth.
Yes, most
while they're here
definitely.
for the tournaments.
Yes, thank you so much for letting me just talk.
Okay, thank you. All right, and that completes the call to the public. We now go to the comments and requests of council. And tonight we'll start with Ms. Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I just want to thank Rotary for the wonderful presentation that they put on for the July 4th event. I hear the fireworks were great. Again, totally scared, thinking shooting fire in the sky is not a good idea, but I understand that everybody likes it except for me. So thank everybody who went and did that, and I really appreciate all the effort that Rotary did. I want to congratulate the Public Works Employees of the Year. That's awesome, and I always like to hear what everybody else is doing while I just sit up here and smile. And I am super happy that we're bringing more tournaments into Sierra Vista, and I'm really excited about that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wolf. We now move to Mrs. Pacheco.
Thank you. I'm sick. Sorry.
You sound like me this morning when I got up.
I do. Just to echo, thank you to the Rotary for the 4th of July, and I appreciate everyone coming to share your comments and concerns with us. We really would like to hear back from you guys, so thank you for that. That's all.
Thank you, Mrs. Pacheco. Mr. Benning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to try to be quick, too. I wanted to thank Pastor Youngblood. I thought him and his congregation from the Thunder Mountain Church that came, I thought they were going to stick around to the end. They just did a big expansion, so it was nice going out there, check that out, and see it. And they have some great ideas for Sierra Vista and how they want to help Sierra Vista. I did want to thank or congratulate the Boys and Girls Club. They just had 2 of our youth win national honors with the Foot Locker Challenge in my shoes. They did a video and pictures, and they actually got $15,000 from Foot Locker to be used here in Sierra Vista. So great job that Jay's doing over there, and I just wanted to tell him congratulations. And then I wanted to thank, did she leave? Belinda is one of my commissioners for Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec's doing great things. We're about to adopt some parks. We're about to do some even better things. But she came to support the measure for approving the bond, but I think she left. And then I'd like to thank the community for coming out. Y'all talked about being an enclave in a community that gets along, but in my mind, all of Sierra Vista and surrounding area is a community. And when we need each other, we come together. So good to see you out here. And everyone be blessed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Menning. Ms. Humphrey?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to also, I want to echo everything you all said before me, and I also want to congratulate the, we saw some promotions happen over at the police department right before the meeting. It was Corporal Daniels now. Make sure I get all the new ranks right. Sergeant Wachtel and Lieutenant Lewis. Okay, yeah, fantastic. So I'm glad we could be there today. And the Rotary put on an amazing show. I've never witnessed it from Stonefield before, and that was phenomenal. I didn't realize what I was missing out on for 10, 11 years because it's such a great show anywhere you're watching it from. So thank you for that. And that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Humphries. Mrs. Calhoun?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sit back and relax. I have a few things to say. Okay, I'll try to be brief. I want to, of course, congratulate our policemen on their promotions. And let's see, I tried to write notes. The Public Works Department folks for their certificates that they received, their awards. I also, I saw in today's paper a list of the folks who are nominated for 20 under 40, and for those who've been nominated for Citizen of the Year. And I want to congratulate, there's several folks up here on the council who've been, nominated for 20 under, or chosen already for 20 under 40. And there's an event going on July 25th. But the Citizen of the Year has not been awarded
That's a
yet.
nomination.
So you might want to make note of that and see what's going on as far as that part is concerned. But congratulations to those who've been chosen. And I put my name in, but I don't know why I didn't get picked.
Boy, I was really close too.
You're overqualified.
Oh, I like the way you said that. But I also want to take a couple of minutes here to make note to everyone of the retirement, I'm going to try to say this without getting too emotional, of Hakeem Mansour from Sierra Vista Public Schools. I've known Hakeem for a very long time, worked with him for a few years, and I've never met a more genuine person. And I hope many of you have had the opportunity to know Hakeem. He's just done phenomenal work with students and with staff and with the community. He's one of the most dedicated teachers I've ever known. He's a very caring and compassionate man. And I know he said, the article in the paper said he plans to go to Tunisia to visit his family, and apparently he has a brother who's ill. But my greatest hope, and I'm sure it's true, is that he'll be back. And we need to welcome him back and be involved with him as much as possible, welcome him back with open arms. He's so kind and caring. And I especially appreciate the way he was so willing to share his culture with us here in the community, with food and with dance and with stories and with songs. He was at several of our heritage fairs and has just been the most giving person. So the school will certainly miss him, and the students will certainly miss him. And but I just hope he'll remain a part of our community and that we have opportunities to work with him some more. I think that was all I had to say. Thank you.
Okay, I tell you, I know Hakeem too, and it's amazing the level of energy and the enthusiasm he engenders in students is just exceptional. So he's going to be missed at the high school for sure. Mayor Pro Tem Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a couple of comments. One is congratulations to the softball state championships, right? Is where they're going? Yeah. So I have a friend that apparently has a daughter that plays in this league, and that's all that's been talked about the last few days. So he was very proud. So I'd also like to say congratulations to Christine, Carolyn, and Sarah for all being chosen for the 20 under 40. And since all of us that are over 40 are also on council, then I'm proposing we do a 30 under 50.
Wait a minute, wait, whoa, 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 whoa.
You two will have to do your own thing. So, and then I also want to say congratulations to the promotions on the police department. I don't know Armin very well, but Justin, I did a ride along with him early in my time on council, and I was very impressed with his professionalism and his treatment of the people in the community and his concern. So I also want to say thank you to those who came to speak to us. So many times I hear, I heard this and somebody told me this, but then no one comes forward to ask us to get those questions answered. So thank you for coming forward to try and get your questions answered. And I would just like to also say I have the utmost respect and faith in our staff and community development, and whatever they do, I've only seen them do it in the most ethical and correct way, according to the law and according to the council's policies. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. I'm going to start by thanking the council for the good work and the staff we had a number. The budget was an arduous task, and the financing and all those technical things are very difficult. Did you have something else?
Yes, I forgot to say happy belated birthday to council member Benning.
Well, he does look a year older, at least.
But I'm still under 50, so we're good. We can
Okay.
go forward.
All right, so I just want to again congratulate the ladies from the Ponytail softball team. I also was very pleased with the promotions today. We have some very highly qualified and professional officers, and congratulations to those gentlemen as well. I want to thank the public for coming up and making us listen. I think that's an important part, because a lot of times we make decisions when this place is like a ghost town, and that's not the best way to make decisions. So we'll address your concerns with the process and see if we can improve it. And I want to thank the staff for their preparation tonight as well. So if there's nothing else before council, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Go get healthy.
Sarah, don't you breathe on me.
I know. I went to give her high five. She just